What's up? Welcome to this week's edition of Invisible Walls, where we try to make Thursday the best day of the week each and every week. I'm Shane Satterfield, the editor-in-chief of the site. Just some quick house cleaning to go through. Tomorrow night is definitely the biggest Game Trailers TV ever. Tomorrow we have the world debut of Gears of War 2 footage. And I can't give away too much, but I will say this. It's not going to be a CG trailer. It is going to be the real McCoy. We already got the footage in here. We've taken a peek at it. You guys are going to be stoked. So be sure to check out Game Trailers TV tomorrow night. Friday night, it's Spike at 1 o'clock in the morning. I know that's a little late, but it will definitely be worth it. The show also has some exclusive stuff for the new Ghostbusters game. If you remember on the show, we talked about that game a while back. We were pretty impressed with it, so check that out as well.
Roll call.
All right, it's roll call time. This week on the show, we have the perennial contender, Ryan Stevens.
Yep, I have perfect attendance.
That's true. You've been on every show so far.
Yes.
Justin, you've actually hosted the show before, but you have not been on every episode.
No, I missed one. That's okay.
But welcome anyway.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Patrick Morales, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
And we have a brand new member of the GT editorial team today. First time on IW, Michael Damiani. Welcome, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Don't sound too excited.
Everything all right, Snake?
Our first segment is Media of the Week.
Well, I guess the number one media for this week would definitely have been the Metal Gear Solid 4 Rebirth, Resurrection, whatever trailer. Pretty interesting peek, you know. It alludes to the fact that you can replay some of the classic Metal Gear Solid 1 moments on Part 4, which is pretty cool. It's nice seeing that snowfield in Shadow Moses and PS3 graphics. Should be pretty fun.
Well, the crazy thing was we didn't know if it was real or not at first, because it was kind of an extension of their April Fool's joke, right?
Yeah, with Assassin's Creed, with Kojima at the end going, "Oh, did you like it?"
Did you like it?
What else did you guys see that you liked?
Well, we had a pretty good featured user video this week. It involved Grand Theft Auto 4, and it was some kind of a endless dimension glitch. It was pretty odd. It was just on a street corner of Liberty City, and Nico's just walking around and turns around. All of a sudden, there's this big void right there. Cars are driving into it, just falling in, and Nico just decides to walk in, and he keeps falling. And you know how the game works. When you fall somewhere, you fall in the water, you die. It restarts you back at the surface, but it keeps putting him at the top of the void, so he keeps falling back in over and over again.
It's like
That's
the Twilight
crazy.
Zone.
I think it's New Jersey.
Yeah, the cars were just sinking to New Jersey. That's a pretty cool video. I have not seen that yet. I'll have to check that out myself. That's the purpose of this segment.
Yes.
It's actually working on the people who are on the show. All right, now, this week, they stopped by with a brand new ATV off-road game that you guys checked out called Pure. What did you guys think of it?
Well, it's Disney Interactive. So at first you'd be like, Disney Interactive ATVs. I don't know.
It's a match made in
Mickey
heaven.
Mouse involved, but no, it's actually the guys from MotoGP and also ATV Fury. So they definitely know what they're doing, and the game looks really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, Brooks walked by and he was like, "Oh, we got MotorStorm 2 in." I mean, these things usually kind of just blip for me on like, "Oh, that's interesting," but this is something I actually am now like actively interested in.
Just because of visuals? I mean,
No,
why?
I mean, it looked fun. They have like not really shortcuts, but like lots of like spread out like tracks, and then they have a good trick system built in that's like rewards you with how like daring you go.
One thing that I saw that I liked was when after you pull a trick and you're coming down for a landing, the camera like slides over to like look down at the ground, so you get that whole sensation of the ground like rushing up towards you, like when you're landing your jumps. I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, they said they're going for that pit in the stomach
Yeah,
sort of feel, and the
vertigo
camera
kind of
works.
effect.
Camera's great. There's some good
Yeah,
sound
the presentation's
design
great.
stuff.
Yeah, the sound design goes right along with it. You get a whoosh when you're like, coming toward the ground, and then you hit and the music kicks right in. So.
And I don't really think I care that much about making my own dirt bike or whatever, ATV, but
No, but it looks cool. It's piecing it
looks really
together
cool.
like piece by piece.
How are the crash physics?
Nothing splinters or blows up, but they still look pretty rugged.
What about the riders? Do they like wrap themselves
The
around
riders
trees?
go like, yeah.
All right, next up is On the Hook, where we answer our viewer mail.
First question comes from Tyler Caldas. He asked, with the release of Banjo 3, do you think it's possible for Nintendo and Rare to come to an agreement and put the first Banjo-Kazooie on either the Virtual Console or Xbox Live?
Ikon Bokom. I mean, do you guys think that it's possible? I don't think so.
This is the same thing as a GoldenEye, right?
Yeah, pretty
Not
much.
Yeah, I mean,
Wouldn't this be awesome? Not going to happen.
the small slither of hope was that some rare games did come out on
The
Game
DS.
Boy and DS, but that's because Microsoft doesn't have a stake in the handheld market.
I think it's the DS, if anything. And why wouldn't they make those games for the DS? I mean, those games are kick-ass.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Would be sweet if we could get on the virtual console. I don't see it
I love the
happening.
3D platformers.
Yeah, we don't get them much anymore, so I think that's one of the genres I missed. It's gone away. All right, Justin, you have a question for us as well.
It's from the Crew Hunter, who took a break from hunting crew to send us a question. Do you guys think the PS3 will win 2008 with the upcoming exclusives like Resistance 2, Haze, Little Big Planet, and so on? Will Home have a big impact as well?
Define win. What does that mean?
I almost want to say no to every single piece of this question, but yeah, it's.
We forgot
it's
Metal
kinda-
Gear, for
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the biggest exclusive of the year. Yeah, you mentioned
taking it
Haze,
for
but
granted.
didn't mention Metal Gear.
Little Big Planet and Home, I'm sure, will be interesting, but I don't see them really kicking too much Sony brand ass.
I mean, do you think those games are going to move the needle? I'm really stoked for Little Big Planet, and I think with people like us, it's really going to resonate, but do you think it's going to be one of those casual game smash hits?
I think they're probably going to do some aggressive marketing and try to be like, get into the, like, Web 2.0 already sounds so old, but they're probably going to be like, share the levels with your friends, and they'll have some interesting commercials and stuff like that. Personally, I still don't get why people are hyped for Home. Like, it's like with Second Life, it's like they have 20 million subscribers, and then you do the math and you find out it's really just like 12,000 people.
I mean, I don't really need to walk around in a virtual world. Like, I'd rather just navigate
I
menus.
just want to play my games.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. That's what it comes down to.
You
Well-
can watch trailers on your virtual TV.
Instead of watching them full screen,
Yeah.
which you can do now with game trailers, you can watch our video on the PlayStation 3.
Real quick, just so we don't, have the Sony bias, anti-Sony bias, and we can go back and kind of answer this guy's question a little bit. I think there are definitely more good exclusives this year for PS3, and
Right.
it ought to be a good year. Definitely better than last.
Yeah, I mean, exclusives.
Metal Gear Solid, Resistance 2. Resistance was pretty good.
Yeah, it was really good.
So, anyone that appreciates shooters will probably, pick that up, check it out. I'm sure they'll do some fun new stuff with multiplayer.
I mean, at this point, we have no idea what Nintendo's going to release after Wii Fit. I mean, they haven't shown anything. So we have
Nintendo's
no idea.
looking really barren going forward.
It's looking like it could be a tough year, but not really. They still can't make them fast enough as far as selling them. It looks like Wii Fit's going to be a smash again, so...
Yeah, and probably not exactly a three-way tie, but it's all going to be more neck and neck this year than ever before.
And then with the 360, you have Ninja Gaiden 2, which will probably be a pretty good game, but I don't think it resonates with the mass audience and is necessarily going to move any consoles. I think the hardcore kids will probably gobble it up. And then you have all the third-party stuff, obviously that's usually built for the 360 first. And then you have Fable 2 for the 360, which should be pretty good. You have Banjo coming out this year, which should be pretty good for...
It'll be pretty even, really.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to dominate this year.
Yeah, I mean, as far as who
2007.
wins, I mean, is winning selling more consoles or is winning having the best software lineup? I think in either regard, it's probably too early to call, period. All right, let's move on. Patrick, we have a question about JRPGs.
Yes, this one's from Omega Antoine, bro. How do you think the Japanese audience is reacting to the 360 exclusive JRPGs and series like Tales and Ace Combat on the 360? Well, as far as exclusive JRPGs go, we have Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. Those have done okay. Blue Dragon was a little on the disappointing side, but a lot of people seem to like Lost Odyssey. But if you talk about the Japanese market and JRPGs, it's really a case of here today, gone tomorrow, because they come out with such a huge volume of RPGs over there that unless you come out with a lot on the 360, it's hard to really.
PS2
Yeah,
is still
yeah.
really the system to have if you're a huge RPG fan.
Yeah, seriously.
I think I could describe the 360's performance in Japan with one sound effect, and that is beep, beep, beep.
Well, one guy from the
What if you had to
team,
describe it with Banjo?
Now, what do you guys
sound
needed to go,
effect?
clear? Yeah, I mean, the 360 is just dead in Japan,
Yeah.
period. I mean, it's game over. It doesn't matter how many RPGs they release exclusively for it there. It's a lost cause at this point.
Yeah, and pretty much they're all migrating to the PS3 at one point anyway.
Yeah.
Eternal Sonata did.
360 is the only system you can play Cold Sap Saga on, though. So for me, it's a big deal. If I were Japanese and in Japan, I'd have a 360.
All All right, one last question from a guy with an awesomely bad name.
And an awesomely small D.
Yes, we have Dom with a small D.
Dom, I would not share that nickname with the ladies.
And he had a comment on our top 10 years of gaming. He says, I mostly agree, but I feel 2008 may just beat 2007.
That's right, we gave 2007 the crown, 1998 a close second. I don't know, man. 2007 is going to be tough to beat.
What year did Cold Step come out?
2007.
I think it's
That's it,
cinched.
game over. Well, initially I thought this year was going to be weak, but now I'm starting to look at it. I don't know. I mean,
It's not
it has a
looking bad.
shot. I mean, we already have GTA 4, which is friggin' amazing. We already have Devil May Cry 4, which is pretty darn good. I mean, you look at the lineup, games like Fallout 3 that are coming this year. I know of some sequels to some really popular franchises that are coming this year that are going to surprise some people that should bolster the third-party lineup.
And I think we'll see some new IPs. I mean,
Gears 2.
Well,
coming
Prototype.
This year. Prototype coming
Looking
this
good.
year. So yeah, I think 2008's got a shot at dethroning 2007. Initially, when the year started, I probably would have said no way, but I think now things are looking pretty good. Next up, we have one of our favorite segments and yours called Inside GT. Now, the purpose of this segment is to show our viewers that there are jobs in the industry that they may not expect are there. So whatever their skills and talents are, there's some place for them in the workplace inside the gaming industry. This week, we have Jeff Groats, and we have a Veep in the house. He is the VP of Product Development at Spike Digital Entertainment. He used to be one of the forefathers of game trailers. Jeff Groats, what's up, man?
Used to be.
Well, you don't really work at GT anymore, right?
Basically, I still am doing a lot of things behind the scenes. I'm not in the office on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I'm right across the street. The primary focus is on the new Spike.com. It's in beta right now. The official launch is going to be May 30th. Basically, adding features, working on the interface, trying to improve the site, trying to make a kick-ass community for guys. And also try to highlight, what's happening on air, and try to build a new social guys experience. That's the vision.
Now, back when you were knee-deep in game trailers, what were some of your crowning achievements? What are you most proud of that you accomplished when you were working solely on game trailers?
I mean, to be honest, just launching the thing and getting the thing to work as a functioning website. I mean, I went to film school. I really don't have any experience as far as from an educational standpoint in creating websites or any of that. It was really just actually being able to launch a site that actually works and that grow. I mean, if you guys go back, you can certainly see evidence of that to the first iteration of GT, which is probably one of the worst websites on the planet. I mean, I can't think of too many websites out there that started so piss poorly and then ended up actually becoming, such successful, businesses.
Now, Jeff, you're actually behind our Versus feature, right?
That's right.
Where'd that idea come from? And be honest.
The community, 100% the fanboys, fighting each other. We said, I mean, a lot of people, I'd always see you should try to, stay above the fray and not, try to play into their hand of the fanboys. And my thinking on that was, screw that. Why not let this is what gamers want to do. They want to, yell at each other. They want to fight it out. And so why not actually, create a forum where they can do that in a fun, dynamic, innovative, new way? Why shy away from what people want to do?
Now, our comparison videos, we catch a lot of flack for those comparison videos. It's so funny that you see in our comments guys saying, why do you guys do these? They're just fanboy flame bait. But why are they watching them, I think is the idea. And, I mean, what do you define our jobs as, Jeff?
I think it's a variety of things. I think producing media that our audience wants is a key component. I think providing community and social features that allow gamers to connect and interact with one another is another big thing. And I think covering the industry as far as the trailers and this sort of thing is the third component. I think it's ultimately at the end of the day, it's all about the audience. And the reality is that they are watching these comparison videos. And so it's our job to try to do them the best that they can be done in order to, give the gamers what they want. I think that what's happened, unfortunately, is that a lot of the, with all the contrast talk and all the, brightness and this, that, and the other, HDMI versus component, it's all kind of gotten a bit repetitive, I guess you could say. So it's our challenge to try to come up with new, interesting ways to make these comparison videos even more compelling and new and fresh. And I think that that's one of the things that we should be working on really is to how do we add more value to these things to keep them interesting. I think there's three things in this world that people will never get tired of debating: politics, religion, and the console wars. And I think that fanboys will cling to whatever is out there to be able to make their case.
Now, Jeff, I know you didn't go to school for what you're doing now in your professional career, but what do you say to the kids out there who are looking to get into the gaming industry and have an interest in maybe doing what you're doing?
Pursue their passion. Whatever it is that they love, go after it, and if they really want it, understand that sometimes you're going to have to compromise a lot, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot. If you have a vision, then you have to be relentless. You have to be willing. What separates people, I think, is those that take the beating and they just stay down. It's like Rocky, They take that beating, they stay down. Adrian, exactly. And they're done, and they throw in the towel, and they're like, they blame it on something else that happened or somebody else or whatever. When it's all about that tenacity. That you've got to be tenacious, and whatever it is you want to do. It's an old cliched message, but it's so true.
Now, Jeff, we brought you on today to talk about your job and sort of going inside GT, but you also have some very unique and outspoken thoughts on the video game industry, and we'd love to have you back on the show.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me.
We'll have you back sometime soon, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right, next we're going to talk about, and we promised for the last time ever, Grand Theft Auto 4. But we got to talk about it. I mean, I think at this point it's proven it is the strongest franchise in the industry. Our review has done 1.4 million downloads. The only other game that's even close is Call of Duty 4, and it's taken like 5 months for it to get to like 1.1 million. So I think without a doubt, GTA, industry's biggest franchise. So we're going to talk about it one more time because the rest of the team has had more of a chance to really play in and dive and see some of the cool stuff in it. Speaking of which, what are some of the cool things you guys have uncovered over the last week of playing?
Well, there's the beating heart in the statue, which I'm sure everyone's seen by now, but it's still pretty awesome when you actually get in there and you're like, yep, that's a giant beating heart in the Statue of Liberty.
Not so much cool, but I guess everyone's been having a lot of fun with the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Depends. Like
Finally.
sometimes some of the random matches, like with the auto aim turned on, it's like you just spawn and automatically hold left trigger and right trigger, and you just hope you can squeeze it quicker than the other guy.
Yeah.
Everyone had like 50 kills and 50 deaths in like a 10-minute match. It was pretty dumb. But you start tweaking the stuff and it
You
gets
can tweak
better.
it pretty well, right?
Yeah. Some of the random matches though are like dog.
Can you turn off the auto-targeting?
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to make sure that you set it up so that there's...
Yeah, but I mean, if you just want to just jump into a quick game, it's probably just, people with the game for the first couple of days, but some of those matches I've been in are, like, ridiculously poor.
Well, at least on the 360 it works, right? Because on PSN it was down for the first 2 days. Is it even back up permanently now?
We were able to get on for a little bit, but then we tried to get back on again and we couldn't.
Dude, I'd be so pissed off if I bought that game and I went to play it online and for the first several days I couldn't play it. And meanwhile, all my friends who bought another version are like, this is awesome.
More Sony tears.
But I think,
Should have bought the same version as your friends.
it's hard to stress test something like that. They haven't had a game where on day one, all of a sudden, boom, there's like 1 million people trying to play it online at once. I mean, it had to happen sooner or later. I mean, for the most part, it's been a slow build for them. With Resistance, they had a good many people playing, and then Call of Duty came out, and it got stress tested a little more. This was the first real blow. Here's 1 million people. See if your network can handle it.
And I know we already talked about sales a little bit, but it sold 600,000 copies in the UK. That's 1% of the population owns GTA 4 in the UK.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's like really old people, babies that can't buy stuff. 1 out of 100 people in the UK owns GTA 4.
That's pretty amazing.
That's crazy.
And that is one territory where I think GTA being released will probably help the PlayStation 3 as well. The UK
Sony land.
is Sony land. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I think that'll probably give it a nice boost. Plus, they just dropped the price of the 360 there, and it didn't really get a bump at all. That's not a good sign for Microsoft there. And let's talk about the reviews. Everyone seems to be giving this game perfect scores. We gave it a 9.8, and crazily enough, we are the odd man out on that.
If you're doing like whole numbers or, you got A+, like you're going to give it a A-? No.
Right. I mean,
A+.
if we had a 9.5 to a 10, our score probably would have been a 10 as
Yep,
well.
got to
but-
round up.
But we do the 100-point scale. But to me, for a game to get a 10, not only does it have to be as close to perfect as possible and nail all the elements that it's trying to accomplish, it also has to be innovative and try something new. So that's where I felt when I was working on the score for this. I seriously thought about giving it a 10 as well because I was having a blast with it. Obviously, I still gave it a 9.8. But I think back to probably the only game I think that ever deserved a perfect 10, which was Ocarina of Time. Think about that game. What all the innovation that was in that game, it created the lock-on for modern 3D games and how 3D combat was going to be handled forever. And all the innovations that it included, plus it was just almost freaking perfect. So to me, that's a 10. A game that completely smashes boundaries, throws down the gauntlet for what other games are going to do for, a long time to come, and is, as near to perfect as a video game can get. For me, GTA, not very innovative. 10 in fun, no doubt about it, but for me to give it a perfect 10, it needs to be at least somewhat innovative. I mean, what really the question is, where does the game innovate? Exactly.
Let's ask Carrot Top.
That's a long silence. It did encourage me to bit here a bit about you can make choices at certain points in the story, and there's what was it you were saying about the different cutscenes, like you fail a mission one way.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
this cutscene,
there's so much polish.
Yeah, it's really
like,
impressive.
Different cutscenes for different ways you fail.
Well, one thing that I was disappointed in was that they took the time to really up the ante on so many things in GTA 4, but the melee was still pretty bad.
Yeah, it's still basically busted.
They give you a lot more options, right? But I mean, is it any good though?
You can do like a little counter and then do a counterattack, but it's kind of like whatever.
I mean, what really the question is, where does the game innovate? I mean, it really is the old GTA games with all the issues that people had with them fixed, but it doesn't really, I mean, is warping in a cab innovative? No, I mean, games have had warps forever.
Since it's a fourth in the series, I mean, it's really hard for GameLine to just blow you away because you have expectations.
But I think it blew me away. It's a freaking amazing game.
Next game, let us go into all the buildings.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that'd be nice.
Let me rob a building. Let me go to a house that I can buy later with like a realtor and then like case the joint, so I can break into it later that night. That's what I want to do.
Well, I think another thing is it's kind of a Me Too game. Like, it's like, okay, cover systems are big now, so let's put the cover system in Grand Theft Auto 4. I just don't see anything about it that, is really breaking new ground. Grand Theft Auto 3, obviously, was mind-blowing in that regard. But this one, amazing game. It was hard to give it a 10, and I didn't.
You fucking dick! I'm sorry! Screw you!
So anyway, this is the news. The big news from the week was E3 was dealt a devastating blow by several publishers pulling out. Activision, Vivendi, NCSoft, Atlas, id. Of course, the big one is Activision because Activision is the biggest third-party publisher in the entire industry, eclipsing even EA. Sure, the acquisition of Blizzard didn't hurt with all those World of Warcraft.
Activision and Vivendi put up a lot of games at the show, so that's definitely going to be noticeable.
No, definitely, man. Well, the crazy part is that Activision was one of the publishers that threw a tizzy fit about how the old E3 was and forced them to change it into what it is now. And now they got what they wanted, and then they bailed anyway. So, between them and EA, those were the two sort of big powers that forced the ESA to do what it's done. Now one of those even pulls out of what they asked for. So it's frustrating to see, the old E3, we had that chance where we were on national television, and it was really good for the industry. Now these publishers have asked them to tone it down, and we're not on the cover of USA Today or the cover of all the Portal websites anymore. Pretty disappointing, I think, and I'm kind of pissed off if you can't tell about it. I mean, it's like you get what you want, and then you're still not happy. That's pretty frustrating when somebody pulls out of a show like that. Well, Activision probably looks at it like, well, E3, didn't get a lot of publicity last year, but if you look at it, that was the year that they eclipsed EA as like the number one third-party publisher. So to them, they're probably like, hey, that's kind of good.
I'm still trying to recover from the loss of Booth Babes.
Yeah, that was a
back.
hard pill to swallow. So, next story, Crytek, an esteemed developer of PC software, came out this week and said that they're going to start developing games for the consoles. You guys probably know them as the developers behind Crysis, the resource hog technical marvel that came out at the end of last year. All right, and that actually segues us nicely right into our next segment, which is What's Up? And this week's target for What's Up is PC gaming. What do you guys think about this? Is it a sign that PC gaming is starting to wither and die?
Well, they're saying it's because of piracy, and it's harder to pirate things on consoles. But I mean, yeah, piracy's always been a huge factor. I mean, I remember back when I was a little kid pulling out the Sierra manual and turning the page 17, paragraph 3, word 16 to get into my game.
Some of them had decoder wheels.
But yeah, exactly. But now with the internet, it's like cracks everywhere. Cracks are everywhere.
Not just on the internet.
Freebase. Ethernet. Okay. I mean, piracy is definitely hurting sales, but I keep thinking of Stardock: Sins of the Solar Empire selling 500,000 copies. Oh my God! You can still make money on a PC, but
Well, Mark Rain came out a couple weeks ago and kind of said the same thing, you know, that they need to start shifting their focus towards consoles because they're losing their asses on the PC market.
You know, when I was in school, when we pirated a game, we usually bought it afterwards.
Yeah, right.
We just pirated to play it a week early.
I love that scapegoat. Oh, we're backing it up. Yeah, right. You're backing it
There's
up.
some noble pirates. They're out there.
Isn't that an oxymoron, a noble pirate?
It is, but it's a good
they're
one.
called privateers.
I don't exactly always buy the whole piracy is the one that causes the serious loss of sales that they attribute this all to. I feel that what I've seen, the majority of people who pirate these games, I don't think they're necessarily going to buy it in the first place.
Yeah, I don't
They're the type
either.
of people who aren't going to buy it in the first place, and that there needs to be a way for these companies, if they want to keep it profitable on PC, need to find a way to capitalize on, okay, if you're going to take our game for free, we need to find a way to profit off of that somehow. Whether it be, you know, I don't know the idea. I'd be the executive of that company if I knew the idea, but there.
They also help out the music industry.
There has to be a change to the actual system, the form of delivery, and some way to just profit off of it, because this traditional method of sales, how they're doing it, is not going to work. It is going to result. That's why they're all jumping ship and going multi-platform like this.
Well, they tried Steam, and then the dudes hacked that as well.
Yeah, but Valve keeps saying they're making tons of money on Steam, but they won't release numbers.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
Well, it brings up another issue with PC gaming, and I think another reason why their sales are down or bottoming out or whatever is because you can't play half of the friggin' games that come out. I get a game, I take it home, it's a total crapshoot on whether it's going to work with my $250 video card, like my 3 gigs of RAM I have in my machine, and Windows Vista. It's like half the time they don't friggin' work, or I have to crank it down so it looks like an N64 game before it'll play more than like 30 frames per second. It's like,
Yeah, it's that system requirement side of the box that you see right there when you go and buy it. I mean,
oh, it's bullcrap.
Yeah.
Total bullcrap. Like,
Well-
obviously, if I was a company making PC games, I'd do the same thing. I'd make them very, very low so someone doesn't look at the box and be like, well, I can't play that.
Requires electricity.
Yeah.
but you don't have to worry about that with console games, though.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole thing right
But
there.
it's
plug and play.
becoming more and more. I see consoles becoming more and more like PCs.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole
Different
patching
SKUs,
and-
The hard drive
patches,
space.
hard drives, even the different models. I mean, look at it right now with GTA locking up on 60 gigs.
Right.
You know.
And people bitch about, like, Devil May Cry 4, when the 20-minute load time, people bitched about that, you know, so.
Yeah, the install time. Now
Yeah,
you're
install
installing
times.
games to the hard drive as well. It's not just like pop it in and away you go.
Or
You
anyone
gotta-
who bought a Core
That's why
360.
I still like the PS2. Put a game in it, and you know, I don't have to worry about my profile, or I can just take a memory card. You know, it's just
The
so
Wii's
easy
like
to
that
do.
too. You just stick the game in
Yeah.
and you friggin' play it. It works.
I like it like that.
I do too. That's old school now, though.
When the Xbox was first announced with the hard drive, didn't Microsoft say we're not going to be sending out patches?
Yep, that
And then by
was-
the next generation, or even within, I mean, what do you think the Hurricane pack was for Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah.
It was a massive bug
That's
patch.
all it was, yeah.
With like a little bit of added content.
Yep. So consoles are heading towards that same model. I mean, do you think consoles will ever get to the point? I mean, I'm surprised already that there haven't been like viruses, like a 360 virus or a 360 Trojan. I mean, they're basically PCs. I mean, it would really
And then there's
suck.
no way to go in and screw around and fix it.
There's no OS for you to screw around with to try to fix it. There's no spyware wiper for the 360 or the PS3. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. I mean, they're basically PCs with a hard drive.
Spyware on my Wii.
All right, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Just as a reminder, please go on iTunes and subscribe to the show there. Leave your questions, comments, suggestions. Give us some fatty ratings. That would be really appreciated. Ryan, also, there are other ways they can interact with the show. Why don't you share those ways?
I am in a very sharing mood and no spyware. You can go to invisiblewalls.gametrailers.com. You can read some of our thoughts. You can comment on what you've seen. And you can also send us emails at invisiblewalls@gametrailers.com. And that's where you can send us suggestions and comments and stuff. And you can get your comment read on the show.
Ryan is like the Ed McMahon of Invisible Walls.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of sound it is.
The worst impersonation of his laugh I've ever heard.
Can we get one more banjo?
I think that was the penguin.
Anyway, that's it for this week's show. Don't forget, tomorrow night, the world debut of Gears of War 2, the first gameplay footage. It is gameplay footage. It is not CG. Get hyped. Get ready. We'll see you next week. Later.
Uh-huh.